How to access prophetic portals and prophesy is the title of this one. It's prophetic series, and I'm going to be leading you deep into some of the secrets that is involved with identifying or discovering portals, and then say a little about what it means, what a prophetic portal means, and then how you can identify or access your own prophetic portal or access prophetic portals in general and leverage upon them to prophesy with accuracy. The thing is that God is calling you to speak to his people. Whether you're a pastor, prophet, apostle, evangelist, teacher, at some point there is that prophetic thing about you, because you are definitely going to be speaking to God's people from God's own interest. So how do you access these places that you can call portals? A portal is a place on the face of the earth where God's presence tend to become more obvious or conscious or active when it comes to you interacting with God as an individual. Portals don't necessarily serve all of us right. My portal, for instance, as a matter of a physical location, may not be a portal. Portals are often more than not altars. And in most cases, the discovery of prophetic portals has got to do with the personal or specific vibration for me in my mind as a prophet or as an apostle who is a prophetic person. So some places that I may identify or isolate as, or discard or dismiss as not serving me as a portal. Like I said, this is the place where once I come here, I can easily feel the presence of God and begin to hear from God. That sense of hearing from God becomes easy for me. So it's easier for me to hear from God there. It's easier for me to see things in the realm of the spirit when standing there. It supports my prophetic positioning and perception and everything about the prophet. Reasons I may come to this spot and it's not serving me right, okay? But it may serve the other person right. That will also be dependent on my vibration spiritually. By the time I'm coming there, that's the position of my mind. So by passing a particular place that may serve you right as a porter, I can come to a place that serves me right as a porter. Not because this other place was not good enough for me to access God's presence as active as the other point B, point A and point B. The thing is that moving from point A to point B, the mind status of mind can adjust, come into tune and alignment with the rhythm or frequency of heaven, and it becomes easy for me to pick the voice of God from that place, and then positioning myself to see becomes a lot easy from that place. And people tend to ask whether it's correct when we talk about prophetic positioning. In fact, there's a prophetic code, prophetic positioning, that has got the details on that. If it's not necessary, then the man by the name Habakkuk would not say, I'll set myself upon the tower, then I'll watch to see. In Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 1. That's to tell you that he was supposed to stay anywhere. Why not in front of his house? Why not in his sitting room? Why not in his bedroom? Why was he going to go to the top of the tower and then watch tower? Do you see God like a human coming? Just to tell you that there is something specific about spots, specific locations that serves us to connect well with God. Habakkuk knew his, and that was why he decided he was going to go there. So there are places that you access, and then they give you this access to be able to interact with God with ease. That is on an easier note. Number one is the side of the mountain, like in Exodus chapter 3. From verse 1, the Bible said, Then Moses led the flock of his father-in-law Jethro to the side of the mountain of the Lord, even to, all right, and there the Lord, he met caught a vision. After 40 years of working there around the house of Jethro, nothing happened until he came to that spot. On that occasion, the prophet came there. Not so much as been confirmed as a prophet. People did not know this was a prophet at the time yet, but on that occasion, it so happened that it was there he got the vision, side of the mountain. You see, so contrary to the popular view, side of the mountain, he led the flock of his father-in-law Jethro to the side of the mountain. There he got the vision itself as a portal. He was able to see aside, and the bush was burning but not consumed, and he turned aside to see, and the Lord called to Moses from the midst of the bush that was burning, and then gave him a mission that summed his mandate to bring out the people of Israel from the land of captivity in Egypt of that day. Number two is the mountain itself. That's number two. The mountain itself, very importantly, let's pick it from here. In Exodus chapter 19, the Bible says in verse 2, for they were departed from Rephidim and were come to the desert of Sinai and had camped in the wilderness, and there Israel camped before the mountain. What happened there in verse 3? And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called him out of the mountain, saying, thus shall you say to the house of Jacob and tell the children of Israel. They were camped there at Rephidim in the wilderness, people of God. But Moses had to go to the Lord on the mountain, as if God lives on the mountain. So when you bring theology into prophecy, you miss it. When you bring doctrine and your myopic kind of thinking into the prophetic, you miss it. You know, the thing is that we have got referees who want to do referee for prophets. And they're not prophets themselves. You can't supervise, become a custodian of what you have no idea of. See this thing. The guy was in the valley, the prophet Moses, in the valley with the people. And then he had to climb to the mountain. So is God only the God of mountains and not the God of valley? Here God decided on purpose, I'm going to meet with this man, my servant, on the mountain. And he went up to meet him there, and then God called out unto him. So the next time God moves you to meet him on the mountain, please do. That's the point there. Because it's certainly a place where he's going to meet with you. I don't mean that it has to be a mountain alone. But on this occasion, you see, God called him there. So because of critics, you don't want to make any move. No, the Spirit of God can place a demand on you to meet him at a particular place. For instance, Bishop David Olekbu of the Living Faith Church said about his own vision that God cornered him into a hotel room for 18 hours and gave him the vision. A trance. He fell into a trance. That was a vision that summed the mandate of the Living Faith Church. And that church has been there for 40 years plus, right? And listen to me, it's about the richest church on the face of the earth. God will never support what he is not part of. That ministry is that strong, not because Oedekbu is too strong, but because heaven is behind it. And that's because there was something that was adopted. So it matters. God can corner you to a place. Number 3 place that you can meet with God as a potter, that can serve you as a prophetic potter, that you leverage upon to prophesy with accuracy, is a house you build unto God. That's the tabernacle. The word tabernacle serves us right here. Tabernacle. Tabernacle, by implication, is talking about tenting. That's God tenting with the people. Descending to abide, dwelling place of God. Tabernacle. So it so happened in Exodus chapter 40 in verse 31, and Moses and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and their feet there. When they went into the tent of the congregation, and when they came near unto the altar, they washed as the Lord has commanded Moses in verse 33. And he raised up the court around about the tabernacle and the altar, and set up the hanging of the court gate. So Moses finished the work. Then the cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation because the cloud abode upon it. That's the presence of God. And the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. It automatically became a portal because it was God's own tabernacle, built to taste according to the instructions given to Moses by God himself. So the moment he did, God identified that place, spotted that site, descended with his glory. It became a place of relevant communion between God and man, interaction. It became an interface of heaven and earth. It became an altar, a place of meeting. So you see, God can move you to build him a tabernacle, or he didn't even move you, but you want to meet with God, so you decide to create a tabernacle for God, please. Create a place. Build God something. Yes. You want to catch God's presence, build him something, honor him with something. Moses honored him with something. Honor God by erecting a place. Consecrate a particular place and say, this place belongs to you, God. It belongs to you. And by the time you do it from a right motive, genuine motive, not like idolizing the place, but acknowledging the God of the place, that way God will make that place suitable for you to be able to interact with God. See, Solomon, the son of David, consecrated a place like that when he built the house of the Lord. You remember that it was his father David that came to the field of Onan. Every other place, the man of God, David was moving about, but there was no presence until he came to the field of Onan. There he saw an angel suspended between the heaven and earth, and God spoke to him. In the issue of the plague that God brought as a judgment because of his wrong or error, in the case of the issue of the census that God did not command him to do. See, God decided to speak to him nowhere else but by the field of Onan. I talked to you, said earlier, that sometimes this thing is about the rhythm of the mind. Sometimes my mind is on a condition for God to speak to me from a house, so by the time I begin to move, my mind begin to work on its vibration and environment until it is tailored to shape to be able to pick the frequency of the movement that, how do you call it, the energy or prophetic signals elicited from heaven, released from heaven. So it was there, the man was able to see. Probably in his house this was happening, but here, it was the place was able to see. He took advantage of that, built an altar. It was there that Solomon later came to build a house unto the Lord. After Solomon had built that house and had consecrated it alongside the priest, the Bible said that the cloud of the glory of the Lord in 1 Kings 11 came and filled that house that the priest could not even enter into the holies of the holies or into the tabernacle to minister again because the glory was too thick. God's presence was obvious. And Solomon said that if you had cursed your people because of their sin, vomited them from this land, and they pray and face this place, hear them in heaven. So God lives there. Can you see? So somebody, the way we men of God these days ridicule the idea of the Bible. You can't use your conventional myopic kind of mindset. We are finite. God is infinite. Nobody can understand the weights of God fully. So let's not bottle or limit God to one-sided theology. Here is it. He said, if they go anyway and pray and face this place, he said, hear from heaven, then answer them. And so what did Daniel do? He was taken to captivity in Babylon. What did Daniel do? He decided to pray, opening his window, facing Jerusalem to pray unto God. And what happened? He was very, very sharp and smart with prophecy. Remember that the issue of the direction of the easterly positioning is involved. That's in prophetic code number 8. So I want to stop here about porters as far as this piece is concerned. We'll do more in another series. There are places that you meet God, you leverage upon. It's easier to access God's voice, God's visions, and then perceive things from God, feel his presence. There are specific spots, and you have to have a way of doing a search. You get me? Search here and there until you come to that spot that serves you right in catching the mutual voice of God and then a relational depth with God that you want to get. Then stay there. That's a portal. Keep coming there, and you come back with some of the best in-depth prophecies in terms of forensic depth and accuracy. To take your prophetic journey to a deeper depth, sign up for my certificate course in forensic prophecy with the Shallow School of Seers, who are mentor prophets or teach prophets how to prophesy with accuracy and precision. Having trained prophets from around the world in the past few years, it's been wonderful, and the results have been excellent. At least 120 countries trained. At the time, we're talking about another course, Diploma in Forensic Prophecy, which is a professional course, and then Micro Forensic Prophecy, which is an advanced that helps you to do predictions, global predictions, international predictions, and of all kind of issues and get them right. So you can sign up for any of these courses. To sign up, pick the WhatsApp contact in front of you on the screen or in the comment section of the Apostle Raymond Ida Ministries in the comment section. God bless you. See you in Shallow School of Seers.